Fellow critics, welcome back to The Alley, the show whose charming host fills you with determination. Guys, the newest chapter of Deltarune just dropped and my son and I are pretty excited. As a fan of Toby, my son has been following his work since back in the Undertale days, and as a fellow fox, I can appreciate the man's artwork and storytelling. So I figured why not use this big beefy brain to dig way deeper down like I always do to help us find some answers, overthinking and connecting the dots. Remember that this, along with everything we do here, are simple exercises to get your brain ticking and wash those lenses in some brand new perception juice. Some you may agree with, some you might get angry with, but you'll get over it. And if you need help with that, I know of a bird that can get you across this disproportionately small gap. Because I think we can get you out of your comfort zone at the same way that knowing that one day that mouse might leave his hole and get the cheese fills me with determination. So I have a few things I've thought about, and let's condense this down into kind of a lightning round so that I don't have to spend 25 minutes plus recapping the lore. So the four things that I'm going to touch on in this brief episode are: who is Rousey? What are the Dark Worlds? What happened to December? And who is Chris? Why are they separate from their souls? First, to put it simply, Rousey exists because Chris keeps a picture of his brother in his pocket. Whether it is a wallet or his just general pocket, I don't think it really matters. Because Rousey is Azrael's avatar. That's why it's just an anagram of his name. It's similar to how both Chris and Susie have their avatars and how I kind of think that December is the night. Rousey can travel between the Dark Worlds because he's in Chris's pocket. Rousey here even remarks that Darkners can't normally leave the fountain that they come from, and Rousey can do so because he's Azrael's avatar. And plus, Chris carries a picture of him around in his wallet everywhere he goes because he misses his brother. And whenever you bring a Darkner's object from one fountain to the next, they are able to be there, is another thing they kind of mention. So either way, he's there. Since he's Azrael's avatar, it would make sense that he knows how it ends. He's probably one of the people who were there when the prophecy was written. The Rousey we meet is basically the avatar in sleep mode. It's doing what it does within its world until the player picks up the controller to be them again. The second point I'm going to touch on is the Dark World is based on the Lightner's perceptions, especially Chris. I think that Chris was one of the original Lightners that they talk about from long ago alongside Azrael, December, and Noel. Because, as it's clear, time is weird there. So they probably don't got a good concept of it. The four are mentioned in the lore to have built complex fantasy worlds, so it only stands to reason that they got together, and so it seems like the perfect place to build, and they likely got a connection to it via the occult stuff that they are mentioned to messing around with alongside Caddy. And that is why there's an ancient prophecy, because how cool would it be to give yourself an epic backstory for when you come back to your imaginary world? Third, I think December ran away because she obviously has feelings for Azrael, but she didn't act upon them, which leads to Azrael going to the dance with Caddy. We can find notes that mention this. And this very likely wounded her because she knows that not only did they go together, but they had a good time, like the note says. So she very likely ran away from home. And you know what? Azrael could have gone looking for her using college as a backstory. Or it's possible that when he arrives back in town very soon, as it's supposed to happen, there will be a confrontation. And this makes sense why the Knight would want to turn the entire world into the Dark World, because that's where they were happy. And if they could make the entire world the same place that they could go on adventures with Azrael in, then they could go on those adventures forever. And Chris would also be unconsciously along with this plan because he clearly misses his brother. Chris went through a big change when his brother left. It forced him to be all on his own to deal with the problems that he faced internally, without their brother by their side to support them. And lastly, the big one. In Deltarune, the war never happened. At least, not that I have evidence of. The monsters were living happily in a town. And since the war never happened, the world was never impacted by the socioeconomic strife that comes alongside war every single time. Therefore, Chara wouldn't have had the same traumatic upbringing that made her hate humanity. I'm positing that instead of running away, she kind of just wandered off because she was an orphan, instead of fleeing an abusive home. So, as always, Toriel takes them in, but this time decides to give them a new name. Chris. Accepting their new name and their new family, they don't argue against it. Instead, they go on living this more healthy and productive life alongside Azrael, who's just a little bit older than them. Plus, we can probably get into the idea that if they are about the same age, how much faster do monsters age than humans? There's still a mischievous child, though, because that personality trait remained. They just didn't have the hatred towards humanity. And we see this represented throughout multiple incidents in Deltarune. The first of which being them going and scarfing all the pie down in the middle of the night. They even left the knife behind. And this is a direct analog to, in Undertale, they wanted to give Asgore the pie so that they would knock him unconscious the same way the flowers gave him the allergic reaction, so that they would have the time to sneak out and enact the evil plan that world-hating Chara had. But that's not happening this time. The pie is the important thing. Keep your eye on the pie, folks. The next thing is that just like Chara, they seem to have quite the sweet tooth, causing Toriel to lock the chocolates in a room. And also, I mean, come on, I mentioned it once already, but they're wielding a trademark knife that they have in both timelines. Because obviously stabbery is in the DNA. They live their much more peaceful life alongside Azrael, growing up in the town full of monsters, until he leaves, and the marriage of their adopted parents falls into disarray, and then they have that weird fateful meeting with the strange man behind the tree. I'm positing that that man was Gaster, and what he gave him was a soul. But not just any soul, your soul. And that's why you get the introductory lines of, "Are you patched in yet? Good, I think you got in there properly." So he needed to hook everything up, get the system running, get you running, and then you kind of just wake up. It's our choice that we make in the dialogue and through actions that make Chris uncomfortable, because we're taking him out of his comfort zone. It's not something he would normally do. It's us who are revolting against him when he removes the soul, throws it, and then heads off screen. This series is such an awesome experience because it allows you to make nearly all the decisions on your own. Undertale is one of the only games I know that you can get through the entire storyline being able to take someone's life, but not actually doing it. You can get through with a complete pacifist run. I mean, aside from, I can't even think of very many. I mean, aside from Tetris. But I guess, if we stop and think about it, the competitive side of Tetris probably took more than we know. Toby Fox gave us a world that we can make all the decisions we want, which gives us a perfect mirror for our free will. Well, yes, we gotta go through the story. The way we do it is ours. And that's life, folks. The way we do it is ours. Sometimes we don't get to choose the hand the dealer gives us, but we do get to choose how we play it. You become the hero, or you can become the villain. But if you choose the latter, you're gonna have a bad time. Critically yours, the Fox.